From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the Lunch Hour News Blast. A federal appeals court on Wednesday blocked Michigan's ban on conversion therapy for minors who are LGBTQ+, declaring it violates the First Amendment rights of therapists and counselors. In a 2-to-1 opinion, the court said the law illegally restricts speech that reflects the moral beliefs of therapists. It set aside a lower court's ruling and granted a preliminary injunction sought by Catholic Charities of Jackson, Lenawee and Hillsdale Counties. The Michigan law discriminates based on viewpoint, meaning the law permits speech on a particular topic only if the speech expresses a viewpoint that the government itself approves, Judge Raymond Kethledge wrote, joined by Judge Joan Larson. They noted that the law permits counseling that helps someone undergoing a gender transition. The court's decision comes more than 2 months after the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments in a Colorado case that could resolve the issue nationwide. In a dissent, Judge Rachel Blumikatz said the Sixth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals should have waited for the Supreme Court to act. The Michigan bill was passed by the Democratic-controlled legislature and signed into law in 2023 by Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who said conversion therapy is a horrific practice. And again, the Nazis didn't seem to think so. Therapists could lose their license if they violate the law. More than 20 states have a similar law, Pennsylvania included, sort of. LGBTQ plus rights advocates have cited research suggesting conversion therapy can increase the risk of suicide and depression. It does. And I would also ask Judges Joan Larson and Raymond Kethledge, what about the rights of the person undergoing conversion therapy? Do those free speech rights matter or not? We also have this news from LGBTQ Nation. The Trump administration has issued a suicide note ending all exposure of Russian influence campaigns, Chinese political manipulation, and Iranian extremist recruitment drives that threaten U.S. stability, writes Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Anne Applebaum. In September, the U.S. State Department's Global Engagement Center ended its agreements in 24 countries to jointly expose malicious and deceptive online campaigns originating in Russia, China, or Iran. Applebaum wrote in a recent article in The Atlantic. She also mentions the Trump administration's recently released national security strategy, which seeks to end most U.S. involvement in its previous foreign agreements. The Global Engagement Center's former head, James Rubin, called this decision's unilateral act of disarmament. Applebaum wrote, "It's a suicide note. If the ideas within it are really used to shape policy, then U.S. influence in the world will rapidly disappear, and America's ability to defend itself and its allies will diminish. The consequences will be economic as well as political, and they will be felt by all Americans." Applebaum notes that the national security strategy ignores a decade's worth of Russian cyber warfare, political intervention, and sabotage, Chinese attempts to economically influence Africa and Latin America, and digitally hack U.S. infrastructure software, and mentions no other rivals or conflicts concerning the United States. In fact, the only enemy ideology mentioned in the strategy is European liberal democracy. Applebaum notes, adding, coincidentally, these are the same people whom the MAGA ideologues hate and dislike at home, the same people who are fighting to prevent MAGA from redefining the United States as a white ethno-state, which it's becoming, who oppose the corruption of America's democratic institutions, too late for that, and who object when Trump's friends, family, and tech allies redirect U.S. foreign policy to benefit their private interests to the tune of billions of dollars. The people who created this strategy are living in a fantasy world, and they are blind to real dangers, she writes. They invent fictional threats. Their information comes from conspiracist websites and random accounts on X. And if they use these fictions to run policy, then all kinds of disasters could await us. And they will. That's the News Blast for this hour. PEP Radio is available on the Live 365 app, the PEP Radio page at paequality.com, Roku, and Alexa. Up next, We have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.